Hi everybody. I miss all of your faces so much. I hope that you're having a wonderful day at home with your mom, your dad, or whoever you're hanging out with today. I hope you're having a good one. Today we're going to read Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I know that a lot of you have probably seen the movie, but this is the book that it was based off of. You might notice that some of my books are a little raggedy, a little loved. That's because these books were my books when I was little, so they've had many years of service so far. But today we are going to read one of my personal favorites, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And parents, if you want to discuss this book with your children after I finish reading, maybe you can talk about what kind of foods that you think would be good if they rained from the sky, or you could talk about maybe why things shouldn't fall from the sky, and maybe talk about where they do come from, where they grow, and what they grow on. Trees, from the ground, underground. Just a thought. So without further ado, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Written by Judi Barrett and drawn by, or illustrated by, Ron Barrett. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Sunday morning, pancake morning. Mom was making orange juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we could eat. And Grandpa was flipping the pancakes. Seconds later, a pancake flew through the air, headed toward the kitchen ceiling, and landed right on Henry. We all laughed, even Grandpa. All the other pancakes landed in the pan. We ate all of them, even the one that landed on Henry. Uh-oh. He got a pancake on his head. That night, Grandpa told us the best bedtime story ever. He said the flying pancake made him think of it. Across an ocean, over lots of huge, bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was like any other tiny town. It had a main street, stores, houses, trees, gardens, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. It never rained rain. It never snowed snow. And it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas. And sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. Whoa. Every morning, people watched the weather report on TV to find out what they would eat that day. They would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way they would always be ready for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. Wow, what kind of things do you see coming from the sky? Wow. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. First there was a shower of orange juice, then low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast, butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterward. For lunch one day, frankfurters and rolls blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Well, the squirrels look pretty happy. You really wanted that hot dog, huh? Wow. For dinner one night, there were lamb chops, becoming heavy at times, with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by a gradual clearing, with a wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had to remove food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied the leftovers into the ocean for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. Spaghetti ties up town. Record-breaking pasta fall causes chaos. Traffic snarled on Lower Intestine Street. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. And the next day there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Yuck. Another day there was pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. Uh-oh. The food was getting larger and larger. One Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. No one had ever seen such big slices of bread or such large rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. The mess took the sanitation workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. It stayed there and got very hard and stale. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomachache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind, followed by even worse an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly. The town was a mess. There were seeds and tomato pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside, most of the time. Many houses had been hit by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So they decided to leave the town of Chew and Swallow. They had to. The people made rafts out of giant pieces of stale bread glued together with peanut butter and set sail for a new land. After sailing for a week, they reached a small, friendly town. They built houses for themselves out of their rafts. The children began school again, and the adults found jobs. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying their food at a supermarket. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs. No one ever got hit by a hamburger again. And nobody dared go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened to it. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. The next morning we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. Do you think that looks like mashed potatoes with butter on top? The end. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. Again, this is one of my favorite stories, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope I see you soon. Bye, everyone.